You won't believe the meltdown that unfolded when the HOA president thought she had authority over my private lakefront cabin, but she had no idea I owned the entire lake. Before I tell you this insane story of arrogance, power trips, and ultimate justice, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another jaw-dropping real-life drama like this one, because trust me, you'll want to be here for every twist. I bought my ranch lake property about 7 years ago after inheriting a good chunk of money from my grandfather, who had always been a strong believer in buying land instead of wasting money on flashy cars or temporary luxuries, and his wisdom led me to invest in a sprawling piece of countryside with hills, woods, and most importantly, a pristine private lake that became the centerpiece of my peace and solitude, a place where I built a small but cozy log cabin with a private dock, stocked the lake with fish, and enjoyed weekends kayaking, fishing, or just sitting by the water, listening to the quiet breeze whispering through the pines. What I didn't realize when I bought it was that just a mile down the road sat a new suburban development with one of those infamous homeowners associations, and although my property was outside their jurisdiction, that didn't stop the president of the HOA, a woman I'll call Linda, from convincing herself that her so-called rules extended further than the actual borders of her community. And the first time I met her was when she stormed up my gravel driveway one Saturday morning with a clipboard in hand and sunglasses perched on her face like she was running the Pentagon, declaring that the HOA had scheduled a lake day for their residents and I needed to unlock the cabin so her guests could use my dock, bathrooms, and water access. I blinked in disbelief, thinking she must be joking, but when I laughed and told her politely that this was my private property and no one was authorized to use it but me and whoever I invited, she turned beet red and started rattling off nonsense about community easements and shared amenities, which of course was complete fiction since I had the deed and lake rights in my name only. But when I refused, she threatened me with fines and reports, to which I calmly replied that her HOA's reach ended at her subdivision gates and had absolutely no power over me, then asked her to leave. She stomped off in fury, muttering that I'd regret this. I figured that was the end of it, but oh no, Linda wasn't the type to let things go. The following weekend, I discovered a group of strangers lounging on my dock, drinking beer, and swimming in my lake as if it was some public park. When I confronted them, they said Linda told them the cabin by the lake was owned by the HOA and open for residents to use, which infuriated me because not only was this trespassing, but it was dangerous. What if someone drowned? That liability would fall on me. I ordered them off my property, and though they grumbled, they left, but word quickly spread in their community that I was some selfish recluse, hoarding community resources, all thanks to Linda's lies. Things escalated when I came home one evening to find padlocks placed on my own gate with an official-looking HOA notice taped to the fence, declaring that access to lake amenities will remain secured until cooperation is achieved, and I had to cut the locks myself just to get inside. That was the moment I realized Linda wasn't just bluffing, she was waging war. I called a lawyer friend who assured me that not only was she in the wrong, but her behavior bordered on criminal trespassing, harassment, and attempted theft of property rights, and he suggested I start documenting everything. So I did. Every note, every photo, every interaction was logged carefully. The climax came during Memorial Day weekend, when I returned to the ranch to find that Linda had organized an actual HOA barbecue on my property, with tents pitched on the lakeshore, cars parked all over my pasture, and over 50 people splashing in the water. When I pulled up, she actually had the audacity to wave at me like I was some hired groundskeeper and shout, "Don't worry, we'll clean up after ourselves." That was the final straw. I called the sheriff right then and there, and when deputies arrived, Linda tried to argue that the HOA had rights to shared land use under some bogus bylaw, but the officers quickly shut her down after I presented the deed and lake rights documents. They ordered everyone to pack up and leave immediately, and Linda was slapped with a trespass warning, but she still glared at me with such venom that I knew she wasn't finished. Sure enough, a week later I received notice that Linda had filed a civil complaint against me on behalf of the HOA, claiming breach of covenant and denial of access to shared amenities. But when it went before the judge, the case collapsed instantly because my property was never, and had never been, part of the HOA's jurisdiction, and the judge not only dismissed the complaint but warned Linda that further harassment could result in penalties. I thought I'd won. Until I discovered she had been spreading rumors in the subdivision that my cabin was built illegally, and that I was hoarding community land, trying to stir up resentment and pressure me socially, but instead, it backfired because several residents started to realize they were paying insane HOA fees for no reason while Linda was wasting money and energy chasing a lake she didn't own. A small group of them even approached me privately to apologize and confess they were fed up with her tyrannical leadership. One even leaked HOA meeting minutes that revealed Linda had been funneling community funds into her personal projects under the guise of lake access litigation. Armed with this evidence, I shared it with the county records office and the state's HOA regulatory board, which launched an investigation. The fallout was delicious. Linda was removed as president, fined heavily, and barred from holding future HOA leadership roles after it was revealed she had misappropriated funds, fabricated easement claims, and harassed non-members. Her reputation was ruined, her neighbors turned against her, and the HOA itself nearly dissolved under the weight of her mismanagement. Meanwhile, I not only secured my property but also doubled down by installing new fencing, surveillance cameras, and private lake, no trespassing, signs backed by legal enforcement. To really twist the knife, I later opened the cabin and lake by invitation only to a handful of the kinder ex-HOA residents who had stood up to Linda, creating a circle of trusted friends while Linda stewed in her suburban home, staring at a community pond that wasn't even half as nice as my lake. Looking back, the most ironic part is how all of this drama started with her demanding I unlock my cabin for her guests, when in reality, I held the keys not just to the cabin, but to the entire lake, the land, and ultimately, the truth that arrogance and entitlement crumble in the face of ownership and law. Linda thought she could bully her way into controlling something beautiful that never belonged to her, but in the end, her empire of HOA power collapsed, while my lake remains as calm, quiet, and under my sole control as the day I bought it. Except now, it comes with the sweet aftertaste of victory and a story that proves you should never mess with someone who actually owns the ground you're trying to stand on.